you have to be appealing to something, right?
Yes.
What property are you appealing to? What do these properties, morals have?
Me, my normative view, my subjective view.
That's vacuous.
How?
Because you're not appealing to.
Listen. What you're trying to say is that I'm externalizing my moral views.
And within your
subjective is. The thing is, this doesn't follow because I'm not externalizing it. I'm not externalizing it. I'm just saying that the moral under my view. Do you not understand?
But you're saying these moral propositions have some type of truth value that can be
under
possible.
My subjective view, Kappa. What don't you understand?
That doesn't matter. You have to be basing them on something.
It does matter because it's not externalizing it to the point where it's like
I'm doing an internal
some objective fact.
I'm doing an internal critique on you, on your worldview. What are you appealing to?
I'm confused. Why I have to explain what I'm appealing to?
Because you have to have some type of basis for you to make these moral propositions.
My desires, how subjective.
So you're saying they're just preferences?
Preferences are subjective claims, not preferences.
No.
They don't.
I can like ice cream. That doesn't make it a moral proposition nor have truth value.
Saying that ice cream is good.
Say I like ice cream.
It entails.
So, are you just saying you like ice cream, pretty much?
Saying I like ice cream entails that it's ice cream is good to you.
No, it's just a preference.
Okay, I'm confused.
Then it's not a moral proposition. I like ice cream isn't a moral proposition.
I'm aware, but I'm
saying that pedophilia is bad or immoral is a normative claim, right? And you're going to have to tell me what your moral is based on.
Desire.
Is it based on your preferences?
It's based on my desire.
Okay, then it's not a moral proposition. You're not saying it's good or bad. You're just saying I don't like it.
Oh, you can't define the true value of a moral proposition unless you describe some sort of normative view or moral view that you already have.
Yes, and you saying pedophilia as immoral is a normative claim. Thus, it's subjective to the idea that it has a moral truth value. And now you're saying it doesn't.
When did I say that?
In DMs, you said
it's not objective. I said it's not objective.
I'm not talking about objectivity.
Then what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
For your moral proposition to state that it has truth value and that you know it, you yourself to know the truth value, you have to appeal to something. Other than your feelings, what are you appealing to?
Why can't it just be my feelings?
It can, absolutely. But then it's no longer a moral proposition. It's just a preference, and there's nothing wrong with that. Most people just say it's a preference.
Moral proposition and also a preference.
No, it can't. You can't just say, "Oh, this is my normative view. Oh, it's just a preference," and then say it's like it has a truth value apt for a moral proposition.
Right, listen,
that doesn't follow.
I'll just steal. Right, I'll tell you a normative view. Right,
you can't steel man me when you're the one making a claim. That doesn't make sense.
Shut up.
You're just dumb.
You're making an argument. I can just steal man your argument.
I'm pointing out the flaws in your argument.
Stop talking. Okay, I'm an egoist. And I don't like other people getting harmed in some sort of way.
That's just a preference. It's not a moral proposition.
It's under a normative view.
That doesn't matter. It's still a preference. You can have preferences that will fall under the category of normativity.
A normative view, which I just did.
But it just reduces down to feelings. That's all it is.
Okay, it doesn't matter. I do.
Then it's not immoral. You just don't like it. You can't make the claim it's immoral and then justify by saying my feelings. You would only say
I gave a normative view.
It doesn't matter.
You said it does matter because you said that. You said I need.
You can't transition it. You can't transition it from feelings into a normative view. What makes it bad? What makes it bad?
An applied ethical claim has to have some sort of foundation for
KingJ.
Has to have some sort of normative foundation.
What makes it immoral?
A normative foundation.
What makes it immoral?
What makes it immoral? My own subjective normative foundation.
Then it's not. Then that's vacuous.
How is it vacuous?
Because you're internally critiquing something. you can't critique other people's work outside of your own worldview, unless if you're an egoist, especially.
Why can't I do that? Why can't I do that?
Because you're just going to say all morality is based on preferences.
Why can't I just say
you can't apply your
moral under
preferences
my worldview?
you can't apply your preferences to other people.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
Absolutely justify it.
I can't say that you're moral under my worldview.
You just said you could use your preferences to critique someone else. How?
Yes, I can. I can say that it's immoral.
How?
I can say that it's immoral to like kill 10 children. If you kill 10 children, I call you immoral. That's perfectly fine. Right? You can just think it's not immoral. It could just be two conflicting moral claims that you just wouldn't be able to reach synthesis.
That's still not justifying it. You're just saying it is the case. What is your moral proposition based on? Anything other than you have to say, you can't just say feelings.
Did you not say I needed one? Kappa.
Talking louder into your mic without answering the question doesn't help you.
You said that I need some sort of normative view, which I gave one.
When did I say you need a normative view?
Okay, then what do you mean by some foundation, Kappa? What you tell me?
I never mentioned foundation.
Yes, you did. You see, it needs to be founded upon something. It needs a basis.
Yeah, so when I say that, I'm talking about what are you appealing to other than feelings. If it's feelings, then it's not then there's no truth value in the moral proposition. It's not a moral proposition, it's a preference.
How do you think you'll apply truth value to a moral proposition?
It has, so either you believe truth values either you think that moral propositions have truth value, or you think moral propositions don't have truth value. Which is it?
Tell you that
for you to claim that something is immoral, you must think that they have truth value.
Shut up! I was saying something, so you're gonna shut up.
So either justify your issue or don't.
Some sort of normative basis or something.
Your normative basis, you can't. If your normative basis is just my feelings, then it's not a moral proposition with truth value.
How? Explain.
Because you haven't justified it. You're just saying my feelings. That's a value. If anything, it's just a value judgment.
It's not true under my normative.
What are you appealing to make it true? Your feelings? Are you an emotivist? Then you're just an emotivist. You're not even a cognitivist at this point. If everything is feelings, you're an emotivist.
I'm confused. I don't know these terms, Kat.
An emotivist dismisses moral propositions completely and just relies on feelings.
Yeah, no, I'm not discussing moral propositions.
You're justifying your thoughts and your actions with your feelings.
They're true in my normative view, Kappa. That's my for it.
I'll read you a quick note. Emotivism is the view that moral judgments do not function as statements of fact, but rather as expressions of the speaker's or writer's feelings, which is what you're doing. You're not saying it's a matter of fact. You're saying it's just your feelings.
Explain cognitivism.
Cognitivism is the idea that those moral judgments are in fact real and not just expressions.
Yeah, I never even claimed cognitivism. Okay,
then you're just a motivist. Okay, you can't make the claim of it being moral or not. You can't make moral propositions. Yes, you can't.
I can't. Me saying that
you don't believe that they even exist.
Mean I can't say it's a moral proposition.
You don't believe they exist.
No, I don't. That's not true.
You just agree that you're an emotivist.
Not. Okay, but you said it comes down to feelings, right?
The view that moral judgments do not function as statements of fact, right? So moral propositions don't have a fact of the matter, but instead they are expressions of feelings. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So then it doesn't mean anything for you to say something is bad or not, other than you just don't like it. That's all that means.
Okay.
You can't just say you don't like it, therefore someone else can't like it. That doesn't follow.
When did I claim that? When did I claim that?
You're saying because you're trying to use your own internal system, which you can't do anymore because you can't be a subjectivist now. You can't. There's no internal system for you to use other than your emotions.
What do you think subjectivism is?
All you can say now.
What do you think subjectivism is?
Internalize moral propositions.
All right, maybe I understand what a motivist is. Maybe I'm a subjectivist.
You can't, but you can't be a subjectivist and just say fifis.
Huh?
That's all you've said so far. Is that is fifis? Your
What
feelings.
does that even mean?
Your feelings. That's all you've said.
Fifi, shut up. You sound so stupid. Oh my god. But anyways, it's a moral proposition. And the proposition is justified by a normative view. Why can't I just say that?
What does that even mean?
The moral proposition is true under my normative
Let's
view.
write out the syllogism.
Let's write out.
I'll copy and paste it for you again, and I'll show you the problems.
You're being dumb.
Here's our syllogism. P1 and P2 are moral propositions.
Mm-hmm.
These two do not have truth value in your worldview.
They don't.
Thus, not based on what you said so far.
How does that not? What? I don't follow. You there?
So first of all, try and justify their truth value. If you say feelings, that doesn't mean anything. It's just vacuous.
There's an internal
because you're just saying my point of view because my point of view. That's all you're saying. It's vacuous.
You don't understand. You're being so stupid, obviously because you're subjective. Are you dumb?
This whole thing, and you're not understanding, just boils down to preferences. Not that they have truth value, but the fact you prefer it not to be the case.
I've been telling you.
I told you this earlier.
How you're putting some sort of normative foundation. When I understand the truth is derived from the normative basis.
But you can't. What are you appealing to apply it?
What do you normative basis? I just.
But you have to appeal to something to give those moral propositions.
If I believe it's all subjective, I don't have to.
Yes, you do. Even within your own worldview. If in your worldview you don't have to actually say anything for something to be true or false other than feelings, then I can just do the same thing and say, no, there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing or with any of this.
Well, yeah, that's fine. You can believe that it's not wrong.
So how does it follow that you can apply your own internal worldview to someone else?
I can criticize them saying that you're immoral under my
If it's completely subjective, you can't say that.
Why can't I say that?
Because it only applies to you in your mind.
Okay, that doesn't matter.
If all subjectivity
yourself and say, well, I disagree.
If all subjectivity or if all morals come from within your
claims to you.
Because if all morals and if all moral propositions and their truth values come based on your own individual mind, what would it mean to try and apply that to some other individual mind with their own individualized truth values and moral propositions? It doesn't make sense.
Does that not make sense?
It's not compatible.
Shut up! It's just two conflicting moral propositions.
It's like trying to compare like y plus z and a plus b, and then trying to compare them. It just doesn't follow.
What? It's not a comparison thing.
It is a comparison thing.
It is, and I'm just
You're saying that their actions compared to my worldview.
That you were moral because of this.
You are.
Contention with that doesn't mean anything because it won't get anywhere because we're all subjective. That's all that means. I can still critique you.
No, you can't. You can't externally critique someone with a subjectivist internal worldview. No, you can't.
Being dumb right now. How? Why can't I explain it again? I don't understand.
Fine. A plus B equals X plus Y. How do you solve that?
It's not a comparison.
Yes, it is. You're comparing your worldview to someone else's actions. You can't do that.
It's a false analogy. I'm saying they're equal.
There's no equality. Just means you're comparing them.
I'm not saying they're equal though.
The equal is just a comparison.
Okay, then your analogy doesn't work. Then,
it does
I'm not
work.
Saying they're equal. When did I say that my moral beliefs are equal to yours?
It's the comparison. Equals just means comparison.
Okay, and how am I comparing?
There's nothing you can do with that equation.
How am I comparing my moral views to yours?
Because you're trying to say your A and B, which is your truth value, or the truth value and the moral propositions, and you're trying to compare them to mine. It doesn't follow.
Don't repeat yourself. All you did was just repeat yourself.
Yes, because you've said multiple times you don't understand.
So you agree that your justification is literally your premise. So it's literally It's literally just
What are
circular
you saying? Vacation? What does that mean?
justification. Are you
You
dumb?
said vacation.
Then you can't even understand what I'm saying. I said justification. If you're trying to speak, I can hear you.
The justification is the
Your
fact that
premise.
you can't compare
Your
them.
premise. You can't compare it.
I
You're
don't
saying you
need. I
can't
don't
compare
need.
them.
I don't need
You
to
don't need a
crank out an
justification.
entire
You're just
syllogism
begging the question.
to
You're just
show you.
begging.
You
I
don't know
never
what begging
asked
the
you to write
question
out a
means.
syllogism. You can explain it
I don't
individual
need to write down the
points, so just
syllogism
begging
because
the
I'm just
question.
critiquing
You're
yours.
just begging the question, Kappa.
You're just yelling out terms you've just learned.
I just why are you trying to insult me?
I
Stay on
pointed
topic.
out your syllogism, which I wrote out and you agreed to, and showing you there's nothing here, right? I just wrote it a different way with A plus B equals X plus Y.
Okay.
It doesn't follow.
I'm not comparing.
I can add some more points to
What do you
it,
think
more
a
premises
comparison
to
is?
it if it would
I
help
think a
you.
comparison is, Kappa.
Equating things together.
Yeah, I'm not
Showing.
equating them. I'm not equating them.
But you're
Like, you're
comparing.
being a rat now. Before I was
That's
saying
not being a rat.
Before I was saying that I was equating, then you're like, no, it's comparing. You're literally using them synonymously. So
KingJ, what does it
I
mean?
can't-
What does it mean? What does it mean to say that someone else's morals are immoral? What does that mean? What are you doing?
I'm just saying that they're immoral under my.
Okay, you're using your worldview to critique their worldview. If all morals come from an individual's mind, how would it follow to try and compare them?
Compare them. That's the issue.
You are. You just said you did.
They're equal.
You're using your worldview to critique theirs. That's a comparison.
I didn't say they're equal though. That's what you said.
You're using your worldview. You're just now admittingly you're using your worldview to critique someone else's worldview. Yes?
Yeah, but the way you're using comparison is by saying that you're equating them. I never equated them.
Yes, you're setting them up to oppose each other and say which one is better, or how does this follow in my system?
What it means
you can't do that.
Something? You know what it means to equate something? Kappa.
I'm getting your definition. Every time you just start repeating my name within seconds of asking me a question, it just shows you.
I didn't ask. Okay. You just tell me what you think equating means.
We're going to go on dictionary definition.
All right.
To make here. To treat, represent, or regard as equal, equivalent, or comparable.
Okay,
which
so
is
you're
the way I
use the part of the definition that I did not know was a part of it. Okay, so
and even still in the first one, which is to equalize, right? To make such an allowance or correction and as to will reduce to a common standard. So you're trying to reduce this to something you can interpret and compare to your own worldview, and you don't like it.
Actually, hold up. By equate, you're just using equate and synonymously, so it's not necessarily like, oh, my morals are greater than yours. You're just saying that it means
that's what you're doing.
You're equal. No, I'm not. I never.
Yes, you are. You're saying based on my worldview, you're wrong. That's what you're doing.
No, I didn't. Want to do that.
When you're saying pedophilia is immoral, you're saying based on my worldview, your worldview is wrong.
It's immoral. I believe it's.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Based on my worldview, your worldview is wrong.
Yours.
But it's still a comparison. No matter how you try and change the words around, it's a comparison. My worldview, or based on my worldview, your worldview is wrong.
No, but I'm not equating them.
That it's an equation just means you're comparing them. And I've been saying this the whole time.
You mean that you're saying
by equation you mean you're comparing them by so you're just trying to go through these word salads of vacuousness. It's all the same thing.
You're being really dumb. Okay, let me ask you. You said that comparison is saying that it's equal. To equal is like
setting it up as a comparison.
To equate is saying that it's equal and they're the same thing, right? You're using them synonymously. There's no distinction between them. Oh, equating something is comparing, but comparing isn't necessarily equating, right? That's not what you said. You just
in the context and usage they are. In the context, they are.
I never said that they're equal. I literally never said
It's
that
nothing about being equal. If you wait, actually, you have
Don't
to
use the
imply
word
it.
equating,
No,
Kappa.
you have to imply they're equal or on some common
Never
ground
did-
to even
never did
compare
so.
them.
I never did so.
Then you can't compare them.
Wait, what? If I say
If
two
there's
is
no
greater than one, they have to be
commonality
equal?
between them, you can't compare
If
them.
2 is greater than 1, it'll be equal, Kappa.
No, but they share commonality in the way
No,
you compare them.
so you're gonna take that back. You're gonna take that back.
I'm not taking anything back. I'm doubling down.
Okay, then why can you?
To say 2 and greater 1 is a comparison, right?
If 2 greater than 1 doesn't
King
mean
J,
1 is equal to 2.
King J, is 2 greater than 1 a comparison?
Yeah, but doesn't mean they're equal.
Do they have commonality?
Commonality doesn't mean they're equal.
I'm talking about. Do they have commonality?
I don't understand it.
You could to say 1 is greater than A doesn't make sense, correct? It's incoherent.
Obviously.
So how
So
can
you're
you,
saying
without
fundamentally
commonality,
the same.
which
You're
you're
saying
saying doesn't matter here,
fundamentally the same.
how does it follow to compare your worldview to someone else's? It doesn't follow.
I called Paula.
You just got destroyed.
No, I didn't. What did you say? I accidentally called Paula. So explain what you said.
You never left call.
Okay, because whenever you try to call a bot, it's a mistake. Right?
If 2 is greater than 1 is a valid comparison, and 1 is greater than A is not a valid comparison, and then you reject the idea that you don't need commonality to compare things, your worldview is incoherent.
I did not.
You just did.
No, I didn't. You
said
absolutely. They're equal. You're saying they're equal. And
equal is. I already explained what it means to be equal. I already explained what it meant to be equal. It's just to be able to compare them. You put them in an equation.
Kappa, you're saying that 1 and 2 are both numbers. So you're trying to say
exactly. So you can compare them. You can compare them.
They're fundamentally saying, so you're fundamentally both morals. But
wait, who said they're fundamentally the same? They're not. They share commonality in the fact that they have values that can be compared.
Okay, maybe fundamentals aren't the word. You're saying that they're both the same thing.
No, that doesn't follow.
You're saying that they're both numbers.
But being numbers and the same thing aren't. That's also not what I said.
That's what I'm.
Those are two separate things.
I say the same thing, so stop trying to.
No, but saying something's the same thing, and then saying, "Oh, they're just same numbers." Those are two completely different things. I'm not going to let you get away with that.
What?
They are both numbers. They are not the same thing.
That's what I said. That's what I'm referring to. The same thing.
But
when I say the same thing,
that's a bad way to go about that. That's a bad way to go about that.
To the trait of being numbers. Just say that they
share. If you're all, then just say in regards to that there are traits.
Just say that they share traits together.
Just say they're both numbers. That's all you have to say. You don't have to try and make it sound some other way.
I don't understand the issue with saying both morals.
But they're not.
They're not both morals?
Because you're an egoist and you believe that morals foundationally themselves come from each individual. They're all fundamentally different.
Okay, but that doesn't fact that they're both morals.
Yes, it does.
One is fundamentally.
They're all necessarily fundamentally different. You can't compare them.
One can be fundamentally different than 2. That doesn't mean
they're both. They're not. They can't be fundamentally different. They both are numbers. There's no foundation to make them different.
What? Wait, fundamentally different. I'm referring to 2 having it sounds like kind of
2 is just 2 ones.
Okay, what's what 2 means fundamentally? The value of 2 ones.
So they're not fundamentally different. They're quantitatively different. They're quantitatively different. There's just an extra 1 there.
The value of 2 ones. No.
Thus, it can't
Kappa.
be.
Therefore, they're fundamentally different.
It's not fundamentally different.
What? Oh my gosh! You're being so. How? I literally explained to you how they are.
No, you're saying they are just because they are.
No. I said 2. You already agree that you said this yourself. 2 is a value of 2 ones. 1 is not the value of 2 ones. Therefore, they're fundamentally different.
That's not what it means to be fundamentally different. They share foundation in the idea that they're numbers.
That's what I was referring to by traits. I don't think that necessarily means that they're fundamentally the same.
What is fundamentally different about them?
The fact that 2 has a value of 2.
So you're disregarding the idea that the numbers has a foundation. That's incoherent.
I'm saying that's.
How do you even reference 1 or 2 without them being numbers?
I'm saying that it being a numbers trait.
How do you reference them without invoking that trait?
That doesn't change. That doesn't
Yes, it
change.
does. You can't invoke them without it.
Shut up. It doesn't change. Okay, there could be two fundamental
That's an
aspects
intrinsic
to it.
quality that you can't dismiss.
I also steal it. I can say that there are just two aspects to it. Both rely on it's
Them being
whatever
numbers.
numerical value it is.
That still makes it a number, no matter how you try and change it.
Two fundamental traits. Two fundamental traits. I steal, and you already.
You can have more than one fundamental trait, but they're not fundamentally different if they share a fundamental trait. That's not coherent.
Yes, they can be fundamentally different.
That doesn't follow.
Yes, it does. Because if there's a conflict, then there's a fundamental difference. Kappa,
That does not follow.
How? Explain.
Because they're both numbers. We've gone over this.
Oh my gosh, that doesn't change anything I said. One of the other traits are being conflicted, therefore they can't be the same fundamentally aspects.
No, they're not the same. They're not completely
Therefore,
fundamentally the
how
same.
does actually, how does it even correlate to us talking about how we're fundamentally the same? They are.
They're not. If all morals come from an individual mind, how do you compare them to some other individual mind when they're both fundamentally different?
How are they fundamentally different?
How do you know first of all, how do you know anyone else's minds exist outside of your own?
Why is this relevant?
Because there's one reason why you don't know that they're fundamentally the same. It's no more than a presupposition.
You're trying to use his epistemology argument when I'm literally been referring to the things within our epistemology.
It's not within epistemology to acknowledge other people exist. It's an assumption.
Huh? Okay, but I'm trying to I don't know why I'm with this epistemic humility argument. And I already just said that I'm referring to things within our epistemology.
You're just going in circles and not understanding any of this.
Okay, Cap, if you want to say that, sure. But what was the main point? Well, yeah, the epistemic humility thing. I've been referring to things within our epistemology the whole time.
It's not within epistemology to think that other people's minds exist like your own.
It's not within epistemology?
No.
I don't care because I've been referring to things within it.
No,
Well, it is within. It is within.
You don't know how other people's moral foundations work. Yes or no?
Depends. I don't know everyone's.
You just conceded.
How?
Because if you don't know everyone's, then you don't know which ones.
What?
How do you know which ones you know?
What does that even mean?
How do you know what moral foundations outside of your own exist?
I never claimed I did.
Yes, you did. You just said you know people's moral foundations, and now you're saying you don't. Which is it? Just now. You're recording. You're recording.
Did
you
I
just
say
said that?
Perfect. Did I say that?
I ain't been listening. I'm gonna keep it a brack, bro.
It's still recorded, but I never said that. I don't understand how I could ever demonstrate that I did that. I said that they're fundamentally different. That doesn't mean I know everyone's morals, right?
If you can't know that, I think you need to rerun this argument.
Huh?
I think you need to rerun this argument.
What do you mean?
Write it out and come back to me with it.
No, you can just concede.
There's no concession. You're not proving anything.
Yes, I did. You got bodied. You literally got dropped on your neck. I don't know why you trying to act up to me. Dude, he left. Alright. Alright, we're done. We're done with this.